Welcome to Global One Media Stocks to Watch. I'm Michael Swido. I'm speaking today with Ivan Fairhall. He's the managing director of Pivotal Metals. They're an Australian mining exploration company that has two major projects in Quebec. They're focused on metals like copper and nickel. They're critical to electric vehicles and a green energy transition. We'll get to that soon enough. But first, Ivan, welcome to Stocks to Watch.
Hi, Michael. Great to be on. Thanks for having me along.
Yeah, thanks for joining us from Brisbane. You are a mechanical engineer by training and a businessman who's been working in the mining and commodities sector, along with a stint in private equity investment for close to 20 years. You took over the helm of Pivotal Metals just a little over half a year ago. So tell us, what attracted you to the company?
Yeah, exactly. I've had a varied background, starting in technical roles, developing projects, and then moved into an investment management role where I was investing in these projects. And through that role, we scoured the globe looking for good, credible, particularly copper development opportunities. And so when the opportunity came to join Pivotal, it's exactly the type of thing that I was looking for as an investor. Was the type of opportunity I see in the Horden Lake asset in particular, and so it was an obvious choice for me to come and join the company and help take it forward.
So why particularly copper? What attracted you to that?
I really like the commodity because I spent a lot of my career looking for copper projects to invest in, and I understand how few there really are, few credible copper dominant development projects. We looked around the world and in particular projects that can be financed and permitted. And so in an environment where projects are scarce, opportunities for bringing new supply into the market are rare, versus a demand side, which I think we all understand is extremely positive. Copper is the common denominator for all electrification, and so no matter your view on batteries and some technology, you got to move the electrons around. And so copper has a very big supply base from the industrial demand as well as the electrification demand, and so it's extremely positive supply and demand fundamental outlook and a great commodity to be a part of.
I love the way you say you have to move the electrons. You have to move the electrons around. That's great. So you are now overseeing a project at Horden Lake in northwest Quebec. It's not far from Hudson Bay. This is a new asset for your company and for the market in general. I'm curious, when you're conducting due diligence on the project, what about it? What did you learn that made you say, "Hey, we need to invest here"?
Yeah, sure. Look, I visited the project before I joined the company, and for me, extracting value out of a project and it is a lot about, can it be developed? So it's one thing to find the metals, and we found some metal, and I feel very comfortable that we're going to find a lot more because the exploration upside on the property is very large. But when the main lens I really look at these things is that metal is valuable because it can be extracted. So can it be constructed? Can you build a project here? How difficult is that going to be? And when I went to the project, I realized that the opportunity to build a project here is very real. It's got great infrastructure, access to very cheap, some of the cheapest power in the world, no major development impediments to build a project here. And so you make a discovery and being able to put it in production, that's how you can turn that metal in the ground into cash. And that's what makes these things valuable. And so it's a critical component in a project that I really focus a lot of my attention on.
Mineral deposits were first discovered at Horden Lake in the 1960s. No mining has taken place there since 2012. Well, not until your company started drilling there again just a couple months ago. Why do you think the site lay dormant for so long, and what makes you believe that Horden Lake is underexplored?
Yeah, it's an excellent question, actually, and one I get a lot. And I think it's the reason that people really should be paying attention to the opportunity. So the background here is this company was security over a loan, and a company that took out a loan to do some work. And when they defaulted on that loan, the company the project itself got taken and put into a private vehicle. Now, the owner of that private company, a well-known mining entrepreneur, died not long after he took control of the asset. And so then it ended up in a family estate, and it took quite a lot of time for that to be worked through. The children had different priorities and different opportunities, and this project literally sat in the bottom drawer. Now, that is a very different story than often what you get with companies that projects that end up in public companies and they bounce around between these junior companies. And often their second or third tier projects never really end up getting any money spent on them. They're there in reserve just in case something goes wrong with the main project. And so this is not one of those stories. This is not a well-known asset, and it didn't have work on it. Didn't have work done on it, not because it's not an attractive project, but because it was tied up in a private vehicle that had in a company that had very different priorities to what you normally see in a public markets company.
So now that you're in charge of the project, what comes next? What's your priority there?
So well, we've been extremely busy on the project. So we've just completed a 7,000 metre drill program. We drilled 34 holes for about 7,000 metres into the Horden Lake property, and that has several objectives. Firstly, we're looking to grow the size of the resource, adding tonnes through extending that known mineralisation because it's completely open at depth in particular and along strike as well. So adding tonnes using the drill bit. We're also adding grade, so parts of the deposit haven't been assayed for all of the metals that we've seen in some parts of the deposit that have been. So we can add grade through adding that metal content and being able to include that in the resource. And collecting metallurgical sample, go on and do a metallurgical test work program that will happen later in the year. The other thing we did while we were drilling was downhole electromagnetic surveys. So that's a type of survey you can do that helps look below and around a drill hole and look where it can see extensions of potential mineralisation. So we can use that to look ahead and find the next place to drill. So we'll have a pipeline of exploration growth to move on to. So we've done all of that work actually. So what the opportunity for investors today is the execution risk around doing work on the ground is behind us in the company, and investors really just have the benefit now in the future of news flow. So the opportunity ahead of you is to see a lot of news come out, a lot of fresh information on the project, discovery potential from exploration, and seeing that value get transferred in share price value. You have exposure to that by becoming an investor today.
Thanks for walking us through that. Let's take a look at Pivotal Metals' other project now. It's in the Belleterre-Angliers Greenstone Belt in southern Quebec. In your investor presentation, you point out that previous operators targeted one type of deposits, but you're focused on what you call ultra-high grades. Put this in perspective for our viewers. How does this compare with previous projects?
Yes, so at BAGB, or the Belleterre-Angliers Greenstone Belt, it's not greenfields exploration. We've got already been made on the property is extremely high grades, like you mentioned, discoveries. Those included drill holes like 10 meters at sort of 3.5% nickel, 4.5% copper, 4 grams ton PGM. So they're very high grade drill holes. And they're equivalent to the first hole that got put into Chalice's Julmar project was 20 meters at lower grade than that. And now we all know what happened there. It's a world-class asset that went on to be discovered. And so that's kind of, it's a big analog to draw. But the point I'm trying to make is that where you've seen really intense mineralization like this, there's been a big system that has brought that metal. There's potential for a big system to have brought that metal to the surface. So what we're doing is previous operators focused in and around those high-grade discoveries at surface, and they kept, they drilled them out, and really what they found was small constrained bodies, but they never looked below that. There's huge regional opportunities, and in particular opportunities at depth to find out, map the plumbing system for these metals and try and identify the paths that it's followed and where are anomalies. You use geophysics and things like that to look deeper in the ground before you drill. Where are anomalies that track the path of flow, that are coincident with the path of flow that you tracked. And so we've just done a big, what they call an MT survey, and that is one of these geophysical surveys that can look quite deep. It's tracked that path, and we're looking for anomalies of scale and something really significant that we can continue to go on and explore and drill. And so that news is coming out shortly as well.
That's awesome. As I understand it, Horden Lake is a short-term project, whereas the Belleterre-Angliers one is longer term. Walk us through your plans for the rest of the year. How are you allocating capital between these projects?
Yeah, I would say definitely that Horden Lake is our flagship property, and that is we're devoting the majority of our capital and attention to that project in the short term because we see such tangible value there. This is nearly 500,000 tons of metal equivalent or copper equivalent in the ground, and it's trading at an extremely low valuation. And so we need to focus our attention to increase the size and the quality of the resource, and that's what the drilling is focused on, and de-risk it through doing things like metallurgical test work and really bring that project to the market because, as you said, it has been dormant for 10 years and bring it to the market's attention. And when we look at it around on the ASX, we see comparable projects trading at significantly higher valuations. And we know that these projects, advanced projects like this, are difficult to find and they're quite valuable when you can get some momentum behind them. So that's really where we're focusing our capital and attention there. BAGB being earlier type stage exploration requires a more methodical and slow process to make sure you target your drill holes the most effective way you can. Drilling is an expensive way of exploring, and when you've got other tools, existing data, reinterpretation of geophysics, and things that you can do on the ground to increase the likelihood of success ratio of future drilling. So we're doing slower, lower cost work, grooming targets, whilst we're really pushing the Horden Lake project forward fairly aggressively.
Ivan, you mentioned value, so let's talk investing now. Your company has a market cap of about 14 million Australian dollars. The stock has seen a fair amount of volatility over the past year. So tell us, why do you think investors should take a closer look at your company? Why is it a compelling investment opportunity?
Yeah, thanks. It is a compelling investment opportunity. I suppose there's, three main points you can make. First of all, we have very good projects. We're in a fantastic jurisdiction. We've got an advanced project, so de-risked. There's a lot of value that's banked and it's in certified resources, well-defined project that has significant amounts of value. And we also, but alongside that, we have high torque exploration success potential with our BAGB project. We know that we can grow Horden Lake, and we're doing that work. So that's the first thing. Good projects in a good location. Second of all, we have the capital has been committed, in fact, and we have a huge amount of news flow ahead of us. So investors investors invest in a company because they believe that tomorrow can be different to today, and not because the commodity price changes. That's a kicker. Really, you want to see the company doing things, producing news, and have the potential to release news that changes the outcome of the project. And so we have a lot of news flow ahead of us. And I suppose thirdly, we have an extremely attractive valuation. We're trading at fractions of our peers based on the size of our project, and that value is being underwritten by, as I said, certified resources. So we've got a very attractive investment opportunity when you think about all those factors combined.
You're saying great location, capital that has already been deployed, news flow going to happen, and a good PE value. Ivan, the Stocks to Watch team met you and your colleagues not too long ago in an exposition put on by the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada. I'm glad they did. It's been quite interesting talking with you about your exploration in Quebec, which could help power electric vehicles in future. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Michael. Thanks for having me.
We've been speaking with Pivotal Metals Managing Director Ivan Fairhall, and you've been watching Global One Media Stocks to Watch. I'm Michael Suarez.